Ohayo gozaimasu. My Japanese is horrible, but here I am in Japan like I was talking about in my last video about traveling with the GFX 100 RF. Now, this is my first full day. Yesterday was absolutely rough. It's the day I flew in, but I had a direct flight from Atlanta all the way to Haneda, and I was not expecting that. It was like 14 hours, and yeah, it was a bit much to say the least. So I got no footage. I was walking around like a zombie trying to get to Nagoya because I had a Shinkansen ride literally right after I got here. So pretty much 14-hour flight and then another like hour and a half train ride. It was I don't know why I planned it like that. But anyways, the weather is not cooperating with me today. I'm hoping it's going to look a little bit better, but we do have rain in the forecast and it's super cloudy. So if I get some shots tonight, that will be really awesome. But on the same end with the 100 RF, I am dealing with that F4. So I am going to be riding the ISO pretty high, and I'm just fine with that. It is what it is. And we'll get a lot of umbrellas, which is always kind of cool. And yeah, Nagoya's not as busy as Tokyo, but it should be nice for some street shooting. I'm also going to be in Kyoto for a while, visiting the Nintendo Museum, and then making my way back to Tokyo. So hopefully I can get some shooting in. We'll see how the weather holds up. So whenever I stay in Nagoya, I usually stay at the Lamplight Books Hotel. I highly recommend it. I love it. They give you breakfast burgers in the morning that are little sliders with different flavors. They have laundry, and they have this nice book sitting area that you can hang out in and eat your breakfast. But aside from my trip, let's actually go through the things I loved about the GFX 100 RF while I was using it on my trip, and why I recommend it for travel photography. So if you checked out my video before, where I was talking about how I was setting up my camera for travel photography, which I will put up above, I talked about how I was using a black mist filter. So the biggest thing on this trip is I was really going for a film look on my photos and just taking photos naturally of things I saw around me and things I liked. I didn't want it to be this thing where I was always so concerned about my camera and taking photos, more so just me traveling, enjoying the moment, and taking photos of what I saw. So what you're seeing now is the introduction of my new preset, the Natural Films preset, which is basically the same as the Natural Films preset, but with more of a film-esque feel. It's lifted up a bit, faded a tiny bit, and heavy on the grain. But the tones are still pretty much the same, aside from it leaning a little bit more green because of that film look. So with the new preset, plus the black mist filter I was using, it really gives the photos a film feeling, which I was totally going for. Now, when it comes to using the GFX 100 RF for travel, I think the #1 reason I love it is its weight and size. I also had a video talking about how I packed for my trip. I'll link that up above as well. But being able to fit this one camera in a small bag and do a whole trip to Japan on a single bag and still get GFX 100 megapixel quality is absolutely amazing. If you have not used the 100 RF for travel, I highly recommend it. Not only are you getting that amazing image quality as well, but you have the option to do video with a built-in ND filter. So now I don't need to bring a specific ND filter with me, and I can get great video like this. This was handheld using the in-body digital stabilization, so even though it doesn't have IBIS, you can still get decent results that you can stabilize in post. But now my time in Nagoya is coming to an end. It's time to hop on the Shinkansen and head to Kyoto. This was my second time visiting Kyoto, so I decided to go to the Fushimi Inari Shrine for the first time, and oh my god, I did not realize it would be this busy. I went early thinking I was early enough to have it not be this busy, but honestly, you gotta go before sunrise because this was absolutely crazy. But yeah, still trying to get some good photos, even though we have huge crowds of people. So I'm currently in Kyoto. Nagoya Day was all right, but it was raining the whole day. I wasn't really happy with whatever I got. But honestly, man, I'm just kind of here hanging out, taking photos, nothing too seriously. But so far, I've been loving the performance of the GFX 100 RF. I actually ended up not shooting it 16-bit because the single shot is too slow. when it's loading it onto the SD card, it takes forever. So I just decided to go back to low continuous, get my 14-bit color. Basically, I'm shooting everything in JPEG and RAW. That way I have both options. But honestly, I'm mainly using all the JPEG photos. And yeah, so far it's been working out. I got my sling on for any extra stuff that I might need. And then I have my strap, and it's been extremely comfortable. So let's go roam some more, see what we can find, see if I can get any better photos today, because it's actually not going to be raining for the next 2 days or so. And I'm going to be here in Kyoto for, I think, 3 days. I go to the Nintendo Museum tomorrow, which is awesome. That's actually one of the main reasons I came back to Japan, is because they were raffling off tickets for the museum and I happened to get one. So I had to come back. But yeah, let's see what kind of stuff we can get while I'm still here hanging out. Speaking of performance, the 100RF is not a slouch at all. I've been using it recently at weddings and have been extremely impressed at the fact that a 100 megapixel medium format camera can keep up with wedding days. Even with that f4 fixed lens, I'm getting great results and it keeps up with everything. So using it as a travel camera is even better. As I stated before, I switched off of using the 16-bit color because it was loading to my SD cards a little too slow, even though I'm using the 300 megabit read-write V90 SD cards from SanDisk. So 14-bit color is going to do great here. It's usually what I'm using for weddings as well. And that read-write speed really hits the SD card quicker, so I don't have too much buffer going on. The autofocus works great as long as you don't have a subject that's moving too fast. If you're doing street photography like this or landscape photography, it's going to be perfect. And again, having that crop lever tool on the front of the camera really gives me some perspective to be able to switch around my shots and compose in camera. And that's one of the things I love the most about the 100RF, is it becomes much more of a film experience where I'm just shooting to take the photos and I can recompose in camera and not worry about doing too much post work. While all these photos are edited in post, while I'm taking my photos, I'm not thinking about post as much, and also the crop is saved to the photo itself, so I always have that in there even on my RAW files. Because of this, I really started playing around with the aspect ratio tool on the 100RF and fell in love with this expand aspect ratio. And honestly, for the rest of my trip, I found myself using it almost exclusively for most of my shots. It is now day 2 in Kyoto. Today is my Nintendo Museum day. So I'm gonna hang out around Uji. Again, just take some photos while I'm hanging out, see what I can get. And yeah, everything really works out as far as the camera. I'm really loving it so far. Yeah. Let's see how things turn out today. This was my first trip staying in a traditional tatami mat room, and honestly, I absolutely loved it. I actually sleep on a futon at home, so I was already used to that, but just the room itself and the hotel I was staying in really gave a fun atmosphere to the photos. So I took a couple while I was in there, and then went to go hang out in Uji before my trip to the Nintendo Museum. This day was much better for photos, and I really got into this space where I'm using the expand aspect ratio and focusing on texture. So I took a lot of photos where I was focused on texture, and one thing I love about the 100RF as well is how close that it can focus. You're really getting up close to objects, and also with your crop feature, you have so much range to change your compositions. So it was really fun for me just being able to take some photos in this aspect ratio and focus on texture. After roaming in Uji for a little bit, it was time to head over to the Nintendo Museum. Hanging out at the Nintendo Museum was absolutely amazing. If you're planning on going, I highly recommend it. It is totally worth it. One big highlight for me is I turned 40 this year, so I'm sharing my 40th with the Mario Brothers, so that was kind of cool. Got to hang out, see the history of Nintendo, which I lived through the majority of it throughout the 80s and 90s, played a couple games, and it's really a memorable experience. I also got their Mario Brothers 40th edition book that shows about the museum and the Mario Brothers, so it was really awesome. You should definitely check it out if you have not been. So I think the biggest question that comes up for most photographers is, who is the GFX 100 RF for? Now again, I've used it in multiple places now between wedding photography and travel, and I do have my thoughts on that. To start out, obviously you have to have disposable income, or like me, use it in an actual business so it's a write-off and you're using it to get paid. Now, it's not the best wedding photographer camera out there, but it works just great and I'm getting amazing results from it. I love using it, and I think that's one of the biggest parts about the 100 RF that makes it stand out, is it's so fun to use. If you have any experience with the 106, you already know you hold that camera and you just fall in love with it, but imagine that with 100 megapixels. So if you're able to afford it and you want something nice and light, but with the versatility of 100 megapixels and being able to crop into your photos and just give you so much versatility on your photos when you're editing, that's where the 100 RF comes into play. If you're a photographer who does landscapes and wants something light, whereas you may be a little constrained in what you can do, I think that constraint can actually add to your photos as well. But again, because it's so light and easy to use, personally, this is one of my favorite Fujifilm cameras I've ever used. And I go all the way back to the X-T2. Now, I haven't used any of the X Pro series, so I can't compare it there, but really, this is a great camera for anyone who just wants something to carry and be able to take great photos. It may not be the best for portraits, but if you are taking portraits with it, you just have to take a different approach. Wider photos, not so concerned about blowing out the backgrounds, that kind of thing. So I think honestly most photographers would love this camera if you can get into its price range, especially for travel. The image quality you're getting is absolutely amazing and the performance is great as well. I actually only brought one battery with me on this trip as well, and none of the days did I need to switch out the battery. So it really is a workhorse of a camera, and I think it's something everyone should check out. Now again, if you're interested in the Natural Films preset, I'll have a link for that down in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video, please let me know so I'll do more like this. I don't usually do the halfway vlogish type videos, but I'm totally open to it at this point because YouTube doesn't show my videos to anyone anymore anyways. So I'm gonna start doing a lot more of what I enjoy. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for hanging out with me. Let me know your thoughts on the 100 RF below, and I will catch you all next time.